Just coming up to the Temple of Zeus, and as we're walking up, we just see so many broken pieces of columns and other parts of ancient building structures. It just begs the question, how does a column get here and broken, and a piece of column there and broken? Beautiful carved pieces, and they plunk it down to build a wall. A whole, how much of it is buried? How does it just go into so many shambles and pieces? It's got to have been blown up. They didn't build these things to fall down. We're gonna know it's the Temple of Zeus because Zeus is on that stone right there.
Well, we said we wanted a reason to know that they're going to call it the Temple of Zeus.
Right? My suspicion is potentially that's a picture of Zeus. We don't have a guide here, so I'm gonna say that's Zeus. We can look it up later on YouTube or on Google. But that's spectacular. I'm assuming that stood at the top of the building, or doesn't it look like a pediment at the... I'm not saying it is or was. Wow. It's not this stone. I don't know what kind of stone it is. They found the sites. They found them like this. Piles of rubble. My suspicion is there might have been a lot of stairs all the way up here, and they've taken these stones and repurposed them. They're nice blocks. Remember that canal we saw in? It was all made with blocks like this.
Yes, true. Faster than making them yourself, right?
Wow. Temple's pretty old, though. Look at the size of some of these megalithic blocks. That one there.
It's got to be 5 feet tall. Well, 4 for
I'd
sure.
say 4 feet tall and maybe 9 feet long. These are newer, but why somebody hacked in petroglyph into the side, I don't know. And how long ago was that done, I don't know. But it's not...
Beautiful. One piece, huge.
Do you know how difficult it is to make a fluted column? You didn't make that one on a lathe either.
No.
To make a capital like that with so much detail out of stone?
It would just... They're colossal.
How tall do you think they are? I would say 10, 20, 30 feet.
And they just look like they took a beating.
It definitely was some sort of explosion. Look at this stone.
The erosion is not even.
It is moved off of its base. See how it shifted? What kind of force is going to move that off its base? Yet the whole structure is still standing.
Because you can't tell me it wasn't perfect.
Right?
It was.
Would have been perfect.
This one too shifted. And
right. Majorly shifted.
Destroyed.
Bashed off the side like that, right? Magnificent. Oh, good, it's open.
Better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
What is like? Oh my goodness gracious me. Why not put a whole big something under the temple? I wonder if this is what they would call their cistern as well. I wonder if it held water. What was the purpose of this room? And these window chutes did all go to the outside. I saw them peek out there. This whole room is made out of stone blocks. There's no mortar in here. They fit absolutely perfect. Look at the depth and thickness of the blocks in there. They're worn and rough looking now, but I can guarantee you the day they were made, they were smooth as glass. It's just a softer or more pitted type of stone, right? Limestone will do that.
Looks like Poseidon with the trident.
He does. He's carrying a bit of a...
Oh, it's a trident without a doubt. 3-pronged at the top, but maybe Zeus, I don't know, but even better one over there. We'll get there.
This is something. Some of these artifacts are newer than the original building. These pieces are newer. These are newer than this building. I feel like they're newer than this building, but who knows? Because the original ones didn't have writing, and I see writing across here and writing here. It's almost as if it's been etched in afterward, the writing. And this writing is following a crooked line of the post. It's not, but still, of course, going to be ancient. They are a little bit newer. Second game around, but still magnificent. This is a spectacular room. This is a great big round vaulted room that's underneath the temple itself, supporting the temple floor. What was the purpose of this room to create such a cavern underneath? There's windows along each side going out, and that's all original. Some sort of window access into the room. A whole step of some type at that end. I remember the same one on the opposite end. Why the steps out? The floors are magnificent. Look at this piece of stone, for example. One piece of stone. 2, 4, 5 feet wide. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Good solid 10 to 11 feet long. Perfectly fitting with the next stone. Not a hair in between. No mortar. Nothing. I would say the portions of this barreled room are still perfect. There's not a sag in it or a wobble. It is still structurally as sound as the day it was made. Walls still straight. Something else. I will conclude that every ancient temple that looks like the one outside has this barreled room underneath it. Whether we have access to it or whether it's still available to get into or whether it's filled in or fallen in. But we're going to see many temples like this one in this design. And because this one has it, I bet you they're all going to have it. We'll keep a watch out for it as we travel through Turkey and look at more temples. Interesting, too, that this basement does not have any columns in it. When we were in Istanbul and we went into the, quote, cisterns, they were all columns like what we saw outside-ish. And they were claiming that was the basement underground. But I'm thinking this is the basement underground of the building. Could there even be an underground place underneath those tunnels, those columns yet that they haven't even thought about discovering in Istanbul? There could even be a room under there. It's like the male, female, husband, wife. Yeah. A wreath. Feel like a picture of a woman on that side. And I'm not sure what they're hiding on the back. The artifacts, of course, are not from this room. They've been brought down here or they've fallen into here. But the artifacts are definitely Zaki. This originally was built as the Temple of Zeus. This originally was built as the Temple of Zeus, and this main structure and these big blocks and the big columns and the big head that we saw up front, they're part of the original building. And then after the first, everything got re-inhabited still by an advanced culture. And they're the ones that did the more fine, smaller work. This is small engravings compared to the massiveness of this building. But this is a second iteration of this place. It's a second repurposing of the place. These pieces are from a second repurpose of this building, still in ancient antique. An elephant? But you could tell it's a thing because the writing, it's not even straight. And everything in the original building was perfect. And they didn't even use language in the original building. So this is definitely a later engraving, suggesting a second time period for this whole site.
Is this a griffin on top? Or just a bird?
An interesting one is this one is an eagle. The eagle is interesting. Another bird. Looks like a bird. Engraving below. Cases like this might have been original to the building. Finer detail inside the building. Capitol's done so well with the deep grooving like this. I saw that on the main building structure. Very similar. This may have been an original descending passageway because there's a hole, looks like it's cut in the roof for the staircase to come through. But the stones are so perfectly made, I'm sure they just repurposed the same hole to put the staircase in. I don't see any rework done on there. Just trying to imagine what the purpose of this room was underground. It could have been for holding water. Maybe. It could have been for cold space. It does get hot out here too. So this would always stay cold and air conditioned in a sense. Although I don't know. A storage room? There's no real signs of anything else in this room other than just a big empty room. I don't see any other wall protrusions or any things on the floor where there was any sub walls or any kind of thing. So it was designed as one big room originally. This is technically inside the Temple of Zeus because these other outside walls have probably all lying over there in the ground. Just taking a look at this doorway for a quick second. We'd like to think it's made out of multiple stones, but I don't see any indication. I see, and probably the base too. Probably the foundation, the walls, and the lintel is all carved out of one stone with a hole through it. That's unbelievable. Perfect. So hard to tell because it's so worn. But it's a different stone in the walls. Wonder why. Unless that's added later, that is concrete. Maybe it's concrete and new. The original door here was stone.
Yeah.
I don't think that stone is original. I think it's a concrete pour.
It looks too perfect.
It's a concrete pour.
This
It's not
is
the same stone, it's concrete. The fracturing of this wall, see that? See how these stones are broken? That part of it, some parts aren't, but this is like, God, what kind of force has to break all these stones apart like that?
yeah.
It's not erosion.
No.
It's a destruction, but 1,000 years ago, what am I going to do to break this wall? I couldn't break this building down if I tried.
No.
Let alone smash the stone into pieces, let alone throw them across the entire site.
And there are pieces. There's a graveyard. There's a sarcophagus over there.
We'll go walk through the graveyard later. Of course, that's man picking up all the pieces and lining up in rows.
Of course. But I'm just...
Sometimes I think that's interesting that they do that, and sometimes I wish they never touched the site to see how it all landed. We will look at some sites that have not been touched, not excavated, and we can see where the stones are lying after its destruction. And that sometimes tells a story too. But this site, I would say, is half cleaned up, and I think half of it is still just lying, especially the bigger pieces. Nobody could even pick them up to bring them to the graveyard. So it'll be fun. It'll be great to walk around and see some of these pieces lying around. Quite some. The things not quite understood about temples is wherever there's a great temple, there's an amphitheater. And if you look over there into the distance, Zach, there's a theater. Hopefully we have some time to go over there and pop over and take a look at it. We're going to go over and take a look at it. Great big theater, probably seats 1,000 people. Interesting, it's pointing right at the temple. Some inscriptions done by the second repurposers of this building. Not the first original people that put the building in. The original weren't people. The original gods who had the building constructed. Here at the Temple of Zeus, we've just walked around the inside and just felt the magnificence of this building. and the magnificence of this ancient structure. And of course, you have no option but just to walk around in awe at the magnificence of this place. The stonework is fantastic. I am so pleased that so much of the building is standing, even though most of it is destroyed. But it's obviously the destruction is certainly something that's cataclysmic, because not only are the rocks strewn about, they are also busted even in place. We can see some shattering of rock, and that would have taken quite the force. Any more force than my elbow could ever do, or any kind of force I could exert to smash a rock. So there's definitely something that has blown up this place, but the magnificence of it can never be erased.